From your perspective, what do you think the key change his team is going to try and make? Because obviously you mentioned they didn't really have many answers to what you guys were doing. What do you think the key thing is they're going to try and do here in this rematch?
Look, I don't know if Diego can change his game, because he's just a gamer. You know, if you look at it, he expects the cop one to give you three, and if he's tough and he hits hard, so if he catches you in that pocket, that's where he does most of his damage. He's also pretty dangerous on the ground. He's got a, you know, we've studied him a lot. You know, he's got some, he does some really, he's got some very, very slick moves. But you know, we've you know, gone through it all, and hopefully we've you know, ticked all the boxes, and we're ready.
Volkanovski, obviously one of the best featherweights of all time. You could argue he is the best featherweight of all time. One of the best fighters of all time. We can remove weight class from the conversation entirely. The guy's got insane cardio, insanely high fight IQ. He comes out here, he game plans well, and he works his ass off. He's taking on Diego Lopes, a very dangerous grappler who also has some very solid striking. He's a fighter coach hybrid. He's in Mexico coaching most of those high-level fighters. His jiu-jitsu is very good. His striking is very good. There's some random power in there. He's very exciting. He's very tough. We just saw one of the most spectacular fights ever when he beat Jean Silva in his last fight. This is a very good rematch. I'm good with it. I totally understand saying Mosvar deserves it. Personally, I think Mosvar deserves it. I think the order should be Mosvar, then Lerone Murphy. Then if you want to do Diego Lopes, that's fine, right? Because he's been here before. It was somewhat competitive. He keeps beating people. He knocked out Jean Silva. I get it.
Thing you got to take into account here is for Diego Lopes, the first fight was in Miami, Florida. This fight he's going to the home country of the champ. This fight's in Australia. If he doesn't get the knockout, it might be hard to get the win on the points.
I think he's going to be better. I think he's got a chance to get the win. It's going to be tough. He's fighting the champ, the guy that's, like I said, a Hall of Famer. He's more dimensional, but he is getting older. He has achieved things that Lopes would still hope to achieve. If his trainers are top guys that I think they are, they will look at tape like I looked at, and they will see opportunities to get better. I think that at the end of the day that he's got a shot. I like the over. That would be my main play. The over, I think it's 3.5.
Over 3.5 rounds, I believe it was minus 135.
Yeah,
Versus Lopes 2, music, is locked in, the confirmation sending shockwaves through the scene. Both fighters step into the cage again with eyes sharp, nerves hidden, but a palpable tension lingering beneath the surface. This isn't their first encounter. Every angle, every move has been studied before, so surprises should be scarce. Yet, anticipation twists like a knife. It's never just about the athletes. The entire boxing world leans in, breaths held, analyzing every twitch, every hint of strategy. Fans scream, pundits whisper, experts calculate, each desperate to predict who will crack, who will rise. The stakes feel heavier this time, the air thick with expectation, and even the shadows of past blows seem to watch. Every second pulses with potential, every glance a warning, every swing a promise of chaos. It's more than a rematch, it's a collision of past and present, a test of who has truly evolved, and who will crumble when the final bell tolls. This cage is a crucible, and the world outside is silently betting on fire and fury, waiting for the moment someone breaks, waiting for the instant that turns expectation into spectacle. No one dares blink, for a single missed motion could unravel the outcome entirely, and in that split second, the story of victory or defeat will carve itself into history, leaving no room for mercy, no margin for error, only the relentless countdown to who will claim the crown.
You versus Volkanovski, UFC 325 on January 31st. If you had to guess, how is this fight going to play out?
This is a hard fight for me. I know Volk had a lot of experience. This guy know fight 5 rounds, 5 minutes, you know. But now I am a different guy. I'm a different guy. I know who I needed to do for win this fight. I'm so confident in myself, so confident in my team too. I'm surprised that everyone this January.
Luke warned that time and damage are the only cracks making this rematch feel barely alive in brutal recent wars, yet danger still breathes. Alex stays elusive, hard to tag, devilishly boxed in, smart enough to vanish when menace flickers. Luke respects Diego's weight, but gravity cannot erase a canyon of skill, leaving this looming collision eerily pointless, yet fate keeps whispering a cruel.
Volk is a little bit older, he's a little bit chinny in my view, but he's obviously going to be hard to hit for anybody who's not like really, really good. So, I take Diego seriously. He gets a second crack, gets to learn from it. Let's see what happens. But like if we're out there and it's round 3 and Volk is, out there doing the salsa dancing and Diego can't find him, he's like a fucking ghost out there just, styling on him. I'm going to be like, dude, what was the fucking point of this? What was the point?
Luke coldly zeroed in on how 2 brutal defeats would scar Diego for more than they could ever help him, turning every future victory into a haunted echo. If Diego falls again, that shadow will follow him forever, especially if Alex slips quietly into retirement afterward. Even if Diego claws his way to a championship later, fans will still drag up his failure to conquer Volkanovski, because reputations in this game never forget. Luke stressed that absorbing 2 crushing losses poisons a legacy in a way a single stumble never does, twisting how history judges a fighter. 1 loss can be buried, but 2 become a permanent stain, and that stain makes any future title feel hollow, tainted, and eerily diminished in the eyes of everyone watching.
Right? Like if this thing backfires, I feel like it kind of backfires for Lopez as well, right?
I mean, that's always a little bit different only because it would have been twice in 3 fights. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to lose once and then that person leaves and you can kind of get it back and it's like, oh, that person never beat the other person, and that's true, but it doesn't tend to matter as much. But if you lose like thoroughly twice, and again, these are big ifs, but if you lose thoroughly twice, then it just becomes like this is a trinket where like we're not even approximating. And then again, you also get back to, which is like, I think one of the central problems in MMA right now generally, which is guys just handing titles back. Now, in the case of Volk retiring, you wouldn't be mad at him, but it's just as a larger phenomenon, whether people are moving divisions or retiring or whatever, no one is able to take belts off some of these guys sometimes, and they just have to hand it back, and that is bad for a division. The best thing for a division is for a title, someone's chain to get snatched. That's what you want. You want someone to just lose, and the person who is the upstart has to take it from the person who is the entrenched power.
Luke kept drilling into what Diego must actually do to survive, obsessing over pressure and suffocating control of the cage as if it were a ticking bomb. 1 perfect punch is not a plan, it is a desperate wish, and wishes get fighters buried. Diego would have to stork, cut off space, shove Alex backward, and choke off every escape route before the storm could breathe. Even grappling offers no easy miracle because of Volkan's iron fundamentals, and Luke admitted he could not see how Diego avoids another grim replay where Alex stays composed, untouched, and brutally constant.
I mean, again, this is where the cage cutting comes into play. Like, okay, so let's think about it. How are you going to beat Volk? Well, you got to touch him with your punches. How are you going to get close? You're going to have to pressure him, and you're going to have footwork, and you're going to have to really put him back on his heels. But if you can't cage cut, he's going to find an exit. That's one problem. You can try and wrestle him, get to his back, create back exposure. He's a pretty fucking good scrambler, and he's a pretty fucking good wrestler. So that ain't so easy. So you're kind of back to square one about this. Now, that might be some cases where he puts more hurried offense together. He puts more stuff in combination to force error or to just give himself like numeric volume. Or maybe he's really working on his cage cutting. But this is the central problem. Like, dude, the Volk is a ghost. He's slippery, hard to hold down, hard to do any of those kind of things too. You have to be really very good about real estate management with him. And if you're not, it's just hard to do anything.
Hardy pressed with an intensity that made the room shrink, insisting Diego's true weapon was time itself, the silent, creeping advantage of learning. He revealed how a single, fleeting encounter could twist your entire perception, turning certainty into suspicion. Fighters often claim they understand their adversary, convinced by initial impressions, yet the instant they touch the pulse of Volkanovski's unpredictable rhythm, hesitation gnaws at them, leaving their confidence fractured. Every step, every feint becomes a question mark, a trap of perception. Hardy's voice carried a sharp edge as he unraveled the illusion of control, showing how familiarity could be a weapon, how moments of calm could hide treacherous surprises, and how Diego's patient observation made him lethal in ways brute strength could never achieve.
No, I think Lopez has got a good opportunity to change some things. You know, there's nothing like being in there with someone for a bunch of time to get a feel of how they move and you know what's different to what you expected, what they did that you know was a surprise, or even maybe. And this is a weird thing as well. Sometimes you expect someone to do something, but then when it happens, it's not how you anticipated it. It's weird, and I feel like there are a lot of people that expect Volkanovski to move a particular way, and like Aldo just could not figure Volkanovski's movement out, and it just looked like Aldo was like, hang on, this is not what I expected, and I feel like, you know, sometimes having a bit of time with someone, then some time to dwell on it, and remember Lopez knows that he's the one that really needs to raise his game to change something. I feel like it's a really good opportunity. It's not the kind of thing, if I was Volk, I'd be wanting to do, to, you know, to have such a good performance and then to go, oh yeah, no, let's run it back. It seems like an unnecessary.
Technique and precision dominated every thought as Alex bore the brunt of relentless, almost surgical punishment. Volkanovski thrived on errors, exploiting any overreach, any mistimed strike, the music of chaos guiding his advantage. Dan realized Diego couldn't simply chase. He had to move with calculated patience, sealing gaps with cunning, steering his prey toward the cage's unforgiving edges. Each step, each feint, demanded cunning rather than speed, a trap laid in plain sight. To Dan, this felt like the clearest path for Diego to advance rapidly, a tangible thread in the whirlwind of the fight, where one misstep could unravel everything, and one precise move could tilt the balance irreversibly.
I think overreaching, I think that's the easiest thing to fix, is, you know, get your feet underneath you and try and cut the cage down. It's a weird thing, footwork, because I remember when I was learning boxing back in the day, when MMA was kind of a thing, but you know, there was no gyms certainly, so everyone was going to wherever they could train, and I was doing a lot of boxing sessions, and there was such an obsession about footwork and control of the space, and I feel like that's massively underutilized now in a lot of ways. There are, you know, like Volk is a master of footwork, he's a master of movement. You know, again, I mentioned the Aldo fight, one of my favorite fights of his, where he constantly pulls Aldo out of shape, makes him reach for an opponent that's not there to be hit. And I think that's the challenge with Volk, when he's fluid and when he's grooving, you know, when he's found his rhythm. I just think he's very, very difficult for people to judge based on range. You've got to take.
Angelo Bedetti zeroed in on the peril with unnerving clarity, mapping its full, ruthless scope. He observed that Diego wasn't just another opponent. He had history with Alex, an intimacy forged in past clashes. Diego knew the exact pressure points, the angles that could maim, having come frighteningly close before. That prior encounter lingered like a shadow, each memory a pulse of threat. Angelo emphasized that Diego had moved beyond uncertainty. There was no hesitation, no trial and error left in his arsenal. He understood, with chilling precision, exactly what he could achieve. That unshakable certainty twisted the rematch into something far deadlier, each move now loaded with the weight of inevitability, and every glance a silent promise of calculated damage waiting to unfold.
Obviously, one of the best featherweights of all time. You could argue he is the best featherweight of all time. One of the best fighters of all time. We can remove weight class from the conversation entirely. The guy's got insane cardio, insanely high fight IQ. He comes out here, he game plans well, and he works his ass off. He's taking on Diego Lopes, a very dangerous grappler who also has some very solid striking. He's a fighter coach hybrid. He's in Mexico coaching most of those high-level fighters. His jiu-jitsu is very good. His striking is very good. There's some random power in there. He's very exciting. He's very tough. We just saw one of the most spectacular fights ever when he beat Jean Silva in his last fight. This is a very...
To himself, Angelo edged nearer to Alex, the tension in his movements sharp, almost audible over the music, as he laid bare the logic behind his assessment. He foresaw Alex adjusting, leaning harder on wrestling, tightening the space between them, and forcing Diego into predictable patterns. Yet the danger zone lingered, long-range strikes, the erratic chaos of pocket exchanges, where one misstep could spiral into disaster. Angelo knew Alex aimed to eliminate those threats, but the path to doing so was jagged, each maneuver teetering on a knife's edge, and every decision carried the pulse of risk, the shadow of consequences waiting to strike without warning.
Makes rematches so intriguing. I assume that Volk is going to come in here. I assume he's probably going to wrestle a little bit. I assume Volk is going to be looking to take away the distance, because the distance is where Diego was able to land that. Diego's only opportunities to land that big shot are right at distance, at the edge of the striking range, or in the pocket going nuts. I think Volk's going to come in here. I think he's going to wrestle a little heavier than he did in his last fight. I think he's going to back up Diego Lopes, and he's going to stay in his face. I got to pick Volk here. I picked Diego the first time. I was wrong. I was almost right for a second there, but I was wrong for 24 minutes of a 25-minute fight. If you think Volk's old and the chin's gone, you got to go Diego. If you think he's got some gas in that tank still, and he's just going to come out here and work his little ass off, then you got to go Volk. The bet has always and will always be Diego Lopes wins inside the distance, because you get a refund if he doesn't, and you get paid.
Alexander's coach, Joe Lopez, spoke with a blunt, almost clinical certainty. Alex didn't care who faced him across the cage. Names shifted, one, then another, but then Diego reappeared, and the team agreed Chaos was the true opponent. Uncertainty about a December or February fight gnawed at preparation more than any foe could. When Diego entered the discussion, Joe refused to imagine him as suddenly transformed. He saw a fighter who thrives on exchanges, banking on resilience, absorbing one hit to land several more, lethal especially in tight quarters. Diego wasn't just a striker. On the mat, his fluidity carried genuine menace, warranting careful scrutiny. Teddy Atlas added layers. Diego, still hungry, still chasing the title he nearly claimed, had been molded by defeat. That loss sharpened him, mind and body alike, and now he knew the taste of a championship, the weight of danger he could impose on Alex. Teddy predicted this Diego would be sharper, more composed, methodical under pressure, cleaning gaps from the first fight, timing attacks with greater precision, maintaining stability when striking. Diego himself admitted the grind at the top is brutal but didn't see retirement. This bout, he insisted, mattered regardless, a moment he intended to own, not define for anyone else. Respecting Volk's experience and stamina, Diego nonetheless claimed a transformed self, focused, trusting his team, ready to surprise. Experts remain split. Some back Volk for poise and experience, others back Diego, forged from past errors, sharper and more dangerous. When forecasts clash this fiercely, the cage often decides in shock. The stage is set, the rematch feels raw, unpredictable, and wide open.